got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's the guy that says if the weather's clear, can do.
Back to my channel on Vegas stories. All these stories that I put together encompass my time here in the city of Las Vegas. So a lot of these stories cover horse racing, sports betting. But I deviate a lot, tell a lot of different stories. Not everything takes place in the city of Las Vegas because my travels took me all over the place. Okay, sweep it aside. Let's get to my story of the day. So I'm going to go back, this is probably going to take you back around 40, 45 years, late 70s, early 80s. Now I'm going to take you back to when the industry in the state of Nevada, horse racing industry, and in the casinos, very little, a lot of them at that time had independent racing sports books, places that you can go and make bets on horse racing and sports only. Didn't have any other forms of gaming. So that was prior to live TV racing. Talk about another particular announcer that the company that I worked for, the first disseminator that we employed back in the day. The story about Jay Richards. Jay Richards was an incredible man, no longer here, he passed, God rest his soul. And the thing about it is that he was incredible at his job. He used to really love to call the races. And the thing about him, which was really funny, okay, every single race he called was like the Kentucky Derby. I mean, there was no such thing as a race that wasn't exciting. And he used to create this incredible excitement on every one of the races. Every race that he called, which I thought, wow, you say, I said, Tom and Jay, really? Every single one's like nose to nose, neck to neck, all kind of right to the finish line, and the winner is, you know, and you got everybody at the edge of their chairs and the race books around the state of Nevada. I mean, this is the way this guy did this stuff. So he was into his job. He really liked this crap. I used to tell him once in a while, it's okay to tone it down a little bit. There is such a thing as a horse, you know, galloping along and beating them all, but leaving them in the dust. Happens, but not to Jay. Every race was a thriller. So on this particular day I'm going to talk about, okay, you got to understand my boy Jay, okay? He was a little bit of a drinker. So some days he came to work, he had a bad hangover. I mean, the guy was, in the morning before he got started, he was a wreck. I mean, he had a rough night. And so he would come to work, you know, and kind of get his all shit together, ready to call some races and everything. Now, the way the things worked back in the day before live TV racing, as I mentioned in the videos, had to use race correspondents, guys that would call you up on the phone and give you the order of finish as soon as the horses hit the wire. But in order for the guy to call the race, okay, he had to have some sort of an idea of the way the race took place on that particular phone call. So I used to be on the phone with these particular correspondents, and I used to write down the information. Now, the information they gave me on the phone was saddlecloth numbers. They didn't have the name of the horses. So if I called, I'll give you an example. If I called New York and I had a conversation with somebody out of Aqueduct and I wanted to know the order of finish, they would tell me who won, who came in second, who came in third. And that was the key, making sure you got the top three, because that's where the money is. The rest of the stuff, entertainment purposes, these races were called 10 to 15 minutes after the actually hit the finish line. So the thing about it is, it's not an immediate information, and it was done to entertain the general public in the state of Nevada and all the race books in the state. The audio system was able to reach everybody simultaneously. So this gentleman, Jay Richards, who would call the races, would get on the microphone and he would take the information that I just gave him from the saddlecloth numbers. You know, this horse led at the quarter, this horse took the lead at the half, this horse down the stretch, all that kind of crap, okay? But one particular day, and I told you, I had a tough hangover. Now, the thing is when I gave him the sheet of paper, the only thing that was on it was saddlecloth numbers. There wasn't a name of a horse on there. But he used to get the saddlecloth numbers, and he would go to the chart, his little sheet of paper that had the fourth race at Aqueduct, is the example I was using, okay? Fourth race at Aqueduct, he'd take the numbers, he'd plug them in. Next thing you know, he had a name next to the frickin' horse. I mean, obviously, we called the race. He knew number 2, you know, was the last call. Number 4 was, you know, butterscotch. And number 6 might have been like Prada or something like that. So he had the name of the horses on a sheet of paper, and he had the numbers from the chart that I gave him that he matched to a sheet of paper. So he was able to give a nice, entertaining call. On this particular day I was there, I told you I had the hangover, you know, so obviously, you know, I mean, I gave him the sheet of paper with all the numbers on it. He's supposed to match that to the race that's coming up. So I had to go to the restroom. I go to the restroom. Every once in a while, I got to go to the restroom, right? So I go to the restroom. I mean, I can hear this guy because I told you, every freaking race is like the Derby. He's like, he's yelling and screaming. So I'm in the bathroom, and all of a sudden I can hear. I mean, I could hear him calling the race and the horses that he's calling. I'm like, what? What? I had no clue where he got these horses. So I'm getting a little bit concerned because as they crossed the finish line, totally different than the horses that were running in the fourth race at Aqueduct. So I knew there had to be something screwed up. Jay did something wrong. So I run out of the bathroom and I said, Jay, what? He's off the right. The order of finish is 5, 4, and 3, whatever the hell it was, And he's reading the horses' names, and I'm like, God damn, that's not the horse. So I said, Jay, time out. What are you doing? And he looked at me. He said, why? Just call the race. So I picked up the sheet of paper. I says, Jay, you put the fucking fourth race on the sixth race sheet. You understand what I'm saying? He goes, oh shit, did I tell you? I said, yeah, you called a race that's 2 races away. You haven't even run yet. I said, oh God, we're gonna get better. So sure enough, the freaking phones lit up. I'm answering the phones. He's answering the phone. I got other people in the wire room that are answering the phones. I mean, the place is a nightmare right now because he called the wrong race. He called a race that hadn't been run yet. So obviously everybody's all pissed off and they're yelling and they're screaming like, what the fuck? So I call my boy upstairs. I call Chuck. He's in another building. He's upstairs. I call him. I said, Chuck, I'm going to tell you something. He just called a race that, it didn't take place yet. It's like, it's about an hour away. He said, really? He says, who won the race? I said, well, he said the 5 or something like that. It's the same one who won the goddamn 4th race, but it's the wrong horse. And he says, well, why don't you get down on the 5, on the 6th race? I said, really? You want me to go bet it? He said, well, call your guy. Tell him out there. Tell him to, put me down for a dime on that horse. I said, Chuck, are you insane or something? I mean, this guy just made a fucking mistake. He picked up the wrong sheet of paper and he matched the goddamn numbers to it. And he said the 5-horse run, which it did in the 4th, but it wasn't the name of the horse. It's a different horse. And he said, yeah, but you got to bet the horse. That's a sign. Can't you see this shit? He said, how long have you been around in the gaming business? I said, oh, God damn, I didn't know that. He said, yeah, tell your boy down at the book over there, get me down for a dime. He said, you want any part of it? I said, well, I don't know. I mean, what? $20, $40. He said, you got it. He said, that's the way to do it. You're going to do real well with this situation. I kind of laughed at him. I said, really, you think so? So, I mean, he gets back on the microphone. He talks to all the people, and he basically announces, I apologize. I called the wrong race. The winner is, whatever, Prada, and the second place horse is last call. And then Butterscotch ended up in 3rd, whatever the hell the goddamn name of the horses were. And, he apologized for it, but in the meantime, everybody's calling and bitching. So now he basically gave that order of finish. He gave all the prices, and I got the phones like lighting up like a Christmas tree again. So I'm picking up the phone. Everybody's bitching. You know why they're bitching. I told you, the superstition. You know about horse race superstitions because I told you, I gave you videos on that shit too. A lot of weird shit in horse racing. A lot of people come up with all kinds of things. So, my boy Chuck wasn't the only person who saw this. A lot of freaking people in the book, they were running up betting the goddamn 6-horse. So, the 5-horse in the 6th race. So they're all betting that goddamn freaking horse. And the people are like, they got to balance the books. They don't want too much money on one particular horse because obviously then they're overextended. But the frickin' place was going nuts with the ringing of the bell, and I'm answering the phone, and everybody's yelling at me. Well, do I have to go any further with this? I mean, you know what's going to happen because this is the kind of shit that I had to live with. All my years in this goddamn time, fucking 5-horse came in the 6th race. You know what I mean? It won. It was 8-1. It paid a nice little piece of change. My boy, he did really well. He got like $8,000 back. I made $300-400, whatever it was. It was insane. I'm sitting there going, how the fuck does this happen all the time? Every time some shit happens, my boy upstairs ends up profiting, which, I don't understand, but it's the kind of the Magoo thing that he does. I told you he's a lot like Mr. Magoo, I just told him he was going to catch hell because our boy called the wrong frickin' race. No. He makes money on the damn thing. So I'm sitting back, I'm laughing my balls up. But this is what transpires when you're in this business, okay? You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And the thing about it is there were a lot of people calling for that rest of that day. They wanted to know every pick that my boy Jay had for that particular day. I had people calling me wanting to know even different tracks. It wasn't even Aqueduct. They were talking about Keystone Park in Philadelphia. They're talking frickin' Santa Anita in California. They're asking me about picks for this. Jay became really famous with that particular call, okay? We call it the Lost Race. That was the nickname we gave it, the Lost Race, because It didn't really happen when he called it, but obviously the fucking horse came in an hour after. So you got to think about this kind of crap. Shit happens in your life. Don't say it's like bad luck or anything. Consider like what message is being passed along. In this particular case, it was a wonderful thing. So if you like this particular story, hit the like button because it's a little bit different. This thing is a wild thing, and we get in this city of Las Vegas, a lot of crazy stories here. This is what I'm trying to fill you in on some of this crazy stuff that took place way back in the 70s and the 80s, and even into the 90s and forward. The point is that there's a lot of crazy stories in Las Vegas, especially about people winning money like freakish ways. And this is one particular way where a lot of people scored big on a particular horse race that my boy called that didn't actually happen yet. Which, by the way, an hour later, he had to call the race with the same horse winning that he just called an hour ago. That's the kind of shit you get in this particular business. So again, if you like this, hit the like button, subscribe, give you a big giant embrace. I'm doing a lot of snippets on these videos. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. I don't go only 30, 45 seconds. You can't go too long because the attention span's not that big on those sites. I'm going to cut into another video right now that I did in the past. I'll give you some of the snippets, the good parts of the particular video. I'll come back, I'll close it up. Once again, thanks for listening. Have a good day. I'll tell you a little story about our coach, okay? His name was Frankie, okay? I'm not going to give you the last name. You guys can look it up. Eventually, like about 5 years later, he ended up in the Black Book in Nevada. I used to notice all the time, was really kind of unusual. But our guy Frankie, he always used to bring like somebody to come watch the games. But I noticed that whoever he was bringing at the time, they were like 20, 22, 24-year-old females that were in the audience watching, clapping away. Frankie's not a young guy. I mean, we're all young. I mean, we're 25, 30 years old. But, Frankie's like, I don't know, 55, 60. He's up there, So I went near Frankie one day because I used to like notice this situation. Every day there's another kind of lady waiting in the audience over there. Some like 24-year-old woman who's cheering Frankie on for everything he did. He didn't really do a lot. And I told him, I said, Frank, I got to ask you a question because it's really kind of like, it's kind of bothering me a little bit. But, I noticed that every time we play a game, you got this good-looking girl that's, like, cheering you on. You got a lot of friends. They're all, like, early 20s. I mean, Frank, look, I'm not going to make any insulting marks over here, but the bottom line is you're not the best-looking guy in the world. Now, let me tell you, Frankie wasn't that bad-looking. In fact, he looked a little like Willie Nelson, with the ponytail kind of shit, the glasses, all that kind of crap. He looked like Willie Nelson. I guess that was attractive. Now, be that as it may, he still wasn't a very good-looking guy, but he always had the 20, 25-year-old girls that were kind of cheering him on. So I went up to him, I said, I got to know something, because I'm only a young guy at the time, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what the frick is your magic? What's your magic, I mean, how do you do this, Frankie? Frankie's a great guy. He reached in his pocket and he pulled out a wad of cash. And he said, Bob, it's Mr. Green. I said, what? He said, Mr. Green. This is what gets all those young women there. Well, I said, oh, that's what it is. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Because I think Frankie was trying to tell me something at the time that at the end of the day, you can work out all you want. You can drive the nicest cars you want. But you know what? Unless you have a wad of cash, maybe you're not getting the dates that you need. He was convicted of being a legal bookmaker a number of decades before we even met him. And even after we met him, he was constantly getting convicted for bookmaking. Frankie had to go to prison a few times in his life. And so they called the prison. They asked for Frankie and they said, he's not here. Really? He's not there? What does that mean? They said, well, what are you talking about? Frankie was incarcerated. I mean, what do you mean he's not there? Well, they said he's on a golf course right now. He's teaching the warden how to play a little golf. And I said, really? Wow, that's exceptional. I can't believe that. That's good. Frankie's a good golfer. So I bet you he's going to help the warden with his games. So I called him at the jail, where he was located. I asked him, I said, Frankie, I can't wait. You're getting out a little before Christmas. Great. Just in time for the bowl games and all that stuff, for the college football.
And Frankie says, no. He goes, wow. He goes, nah, I don't want to get out at that time. He goes, what are you talking about, Frankie? You want to get out that time? So I can't get out that time. I'm having a big frickin' time with the Super Bowl. I got a lot of bets on this goddamn shit. You can't let me out now. You got to have to talk to these people and let me out after the Super Bowl because, I'm not leaving here with all these bets out. I might end up making a lot of money. There's no way I'm coming out this early. So needless to say, Frankie had to stay in jail for another 3-4 weeks so that he can get the Super Bowl in. And then, then they can release him. Well, he had a good relationship with the warden. I mean, he showed him how to basically golf. At the end of the season, we got all excited. We figured, what the frig, we're undefeated. Let's go party. Let's have a good time. We're talking strip joint. It's a great strip joint. We're talking a wonderful strip joint. Okay? Because not only do you see the girls dancing, which was kind of like the big thing for us guys, because, we're in our 20s and we're all excited about this shit. But the nice thing about it is you're able to eat there. As I'm looking up, all of a sudden I see this girl come on, and, she's wrapping around the brass pole and she's doing all the, gyrations, which, it took me a little time. Eventually I got to her face, okay? And when I noticed it was my secretary. I mean, can you imagine this? My secretary's a stripper. Wow, that was a little freakish, okay? So I'm looking at this girl, and she's looking back at me, and so I waved. I mean, I don't know what to do. It's my secretary. I kind of gave her a little wave, I don't know what to do. I'm a little embarrassed. There's a lot of guys here. She finished their little performance on the brass pole, turning around, spreading everything all over the place. She decided to come down and sit down and talk to us. That was nice. I got to introduce her to all the guys on the softball team. This is my secretary. The thing is she was topless. It was real hard looking at her face because, there was a lot of things protruding, coming at me in different directions. And they were, I was bouncing all over the place, which was kind of exciting. I didn't know she was this good. I thought the girl was a school teacher before she came to us. And she looked at me, she said, I forgot to tell you, I'm moonlighting a little bit. Yeah, no shit. Totally changed the relationship that I had with this lady because I had no clue she had that kind of talent. Totally different than the talent she had at the office. But I will tell you, it was very nice talent.
Well, I hope you liked that particular video that I did a long time ago when I discovered that my secretary was moonlighting as a stripper at the Jolly Trolleys on the Las Vegas Strip. It was a little bit of a different experience for me. Wonderful time back then, young, having fun, just enjoying life. And then you run into your secretary who's got nothing on. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a wonderful time. So once again, as I said before, you like it, hit the like button, come back. I'll give you another story. Take care. Have a good day.
I got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's the guy that says if the weather's clear, can do. This guy says the